And we're back. Another episode of the CMB Sports Show coming off of the MLB Trade Deadline, week 4 or 5 of our college football team totals. So
I'm down.
That's what I say we start with. Go ahead and jump into some.
We can go ham. We can go ham on the baseball like on the back end. Just so much happened. But anyways, I'll start it off. So for my over/under team totals pick, I think I'm going to go Clemson. I think they're at 10.5. We talked about it before. Everybody said they were bad last year. Yeah, I beg to differ. You know, you look at them; they won like 7 straight or 6 straight to finish the season out. I think they only lost 2 games. They still won 10 games. I think DJ Uiagalelei is going to be just as good this year, if not better. No, let me rephrase. He will be better this year. Their defense is still going to be good. They're still going to be well coached. Yeah, they lost their defensive coordinator. I don't care. Like, they know what they're doing. The only games that are iffy to me, NC State at home, which nobody's won. Nobody besides Clemson has won at Clemson since 2016. And then Notre Dame on the road, coming off of a bye week. I like their chances there again. And then Miami at home in November. Probably be a big game, but again, nobody's won there since 2016. So I feel good about that one.
Yeah, a big thing looking at schedules, like when you're looking at these, is like that's a huge advantage to have all of your tough games at home. It's where if you're going to Miami or you're going to NC State, those are going to be
definitely,
that completely changes it to where you're confident Clemson is going to win both of those games at home. On the road, they're more toss-up games, or you got a better chance of losing them. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot. This will be big for Dabo to see what tier he is as a college football coach, to where you see some guys, doesn't really matter who their coordinators are. When Dabo's kept his guys this whole time, and I think that's what's kept him at an elite level. So if he can replace his coordinators and still win 10 or 11 games or stay in the title mix, I like he's going to put himself up there with Saban and those guys. But yeah, I'm with you. They won 10 games last year, and it was a down year. So they recruit so well that it's tough for them to have a down year.
I know the conference has gotten better over the last 2 years, but there's still a lot of good, easy wins in there. And they kind of dodge the tougher part of their conference. Really, they don't play North Carolina or Virginia. They do play Wake Forest, but I think that quarterback left, maybe. I can't remember for sure, but I just feel like Clemson's going to be there and show up for that one, because that's really their first test is Wake Forest on the road. So I don't know. I like their chances. I like that pick a lot. I really feel good about that one.
Yeah, I think coming off of my Kentucky under 8.5 pick, it was tough for me to find one that I loved, just because that was probably
that's a really good
favorite pick so far. But I'm going back out west, Utah over 8.5. So Utah is bringing back basically their entire offense. They lost 2 offensive linemen and a slot receiver who was their do it everything white guy punt returner, but they averaged 431 yards last year and 36 points per game, which I said returning the quarterback. He's a 5th-year junior.
Oh, wow,
since all the COVID stuff. But so, I mean, he's been there. He didn't start until week 3 last year, once he started, they went 7-2 after he got the starting job. The line was fourth in the nation in pass protection. They only gave up 13 sacks all year. They averaged 217 rushing yards a game. They had 40 less penalties than their opponents. I mean, they are the bullies of the Pac-12. They're bigger, stronger. You know, they spread the ball out too a lot. They had two tight ends who were thinking about going to the draft. They ended up coming back. I think they're going to boost their stock up a lot. One of them had over 1,000 yards. One of them had 8 touchdowns. So you got many teams use two tight ends. Like
there's not many,
especially not in the passing game.
Georgia and Alabama, Stanford, probably it. BYU.
Yeah, that's pretty rare to find. Like the athleticism.
To get two of them. I mean, it's a struggle for Alabama to get two at the same time. And like Georgia has a room full of them, but that probably will never happen again. So like for them to have two that we're considering the draft, like that's impressive.
Yeah, I think Georgia's the only team that really compares there. Like you said, Alabama usually has. I feel like Alabama doesn't stack them the way that like Georgia did last year, or even this year. Georgia has like 3 tight ends that are going to be great tight ends, like all on the field together. But going into their schedule, I think Utah's going into Gainesville. I think they're going to win that game. To where I think it's just a tale of two different teams. To where Florida doesn't really have it figured out yet. I think Florida. I am high on Florida. I think they're going to be good.
Is that game 1?
Week 1.
Is that week 1?
Yes,
Ooh,
week 1. Yep. So that's why I give the advantage to Utah just because they're so experienced. You know, their defense was really good too. They're replacing 2 linebackers, but that's what Utah does. Like offensive linemen, linebackers, they like breed these guys out every year. So that doesn't really scare me. But go to Florida first, week 1. You know, if that game's played towards the end of the year, I might give the edge to Florida. But week 1, Florida may not really know who they are just yet. Then they get Southern Utah. Then they get San Diego State. Then they go to Arizona State. Then they get Oregon State at home and go to UCLA. They get USC at home, which I think is huge because of what USC is building. You don't really want to go there just yet because I think that's the 2 best teams in the conference right there, and you get them at home. Then you go to Washington State. Then you get Arizona at home, Stanford at home. You go to Oregon and to Colorado. So the only 2 that really worry me is you're going to Oregon, who, if Bo Nix is the quarterback at Oregon,
definitely,
you're probably going to win that game.
Definitely.
And then you get USC, but you're getting USC at home.
I mean, I like that. I think that's another good find by you, honestly, for doing your homework. And I mean, just to have that kind of leadership coming back at the quarterback spot, and then tight ends, like they're always kind of play like not an upset because like they're never really an upset. Like they're always really good, but they're more of like a underrated, I would say. They don't play like spoiler, like, you know, like they're always right there playing in big bowl games and such. So, I mean, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, this is one of my sleepers who, like, I could see Utah winning 11 or 12 games this year. Just if everything falls into place, I could see them being like in the title hunt at the end, at least in the mix. I mean, they're definitely not at the caliber of what Bama or Ohio State or Georgia. They're not there, but they could get that 4th spot. I could see
for
it.
Sure. And I hate it's like this, but it's always like that 4th team is just never like really that close, you know. It's always just 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes even just 2.
What was the year? The best year I can remember was when LSU won it. So 2019. Who was the 4th team that year? Was it Notre Dame? So it may not have been.
Yeah, because Alabama wasn't in it that year.
Because Ohio State got robbed. Yeah, Ohio State got robbed in the Clemson game in the pass interference call. And LSU boat raced both of them. I don't remember who they beat, though. So maybe the 4th team wasn't even good.
I can't remember. The year when it was Georgia and Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl was a good year, too. I can't remember who Alabama had to beat. I want to say it was Clemson, maybe. I still think Alabama still won by a lot. I can't remember for sure, but I mean that Georgia-Oklahoma game was legendary. I mean, how many close 2-3 games have there been? Can't be many.
No.
So I don't know. I do love the playoff though. I like it. I wish that they did the playoff based off the BCS rankings. I know like people had a lot of beef with the BCS, especially Auburn fans, which is understandable. But I feel like the matchups in the national championship were really good. So I just don't like the committee. I feel like the committee gets a lot wrong. That's just my personal opinion.
They just have to expand it. 4 just isn't enough.
Then you have 3 teams or 2 teams that just run it anyways. Then you just get more upsets.
But it may not be that way with 4 games.
Well, then why don't we just? I mean, why does it even matter then? Like, I don't. Just adding more games, hoping somebody slips up. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's how it is in every other playoff.
I don't know.
The only playoff that's that way is college football. Like high school football, there's 5 rounds.
Yeah, but no other sport is as
NFL.
There's no other sport is as top heavy. It's not as top heavy. There's a lot more parity.
Exactly, because there's 4 rounds.
I'm telling you, like, you're not gonna just sit there and be like, oh yeah, the Packers got it locked and sealed up this year. It's gonna be the Packers and the Patriots, no doubt. And then it's like it plays out that way. It's not like that. The teams are more even throughout the regular season, is what I'm trying to say.
That's what I'm saying.
The playoffs have nothing to do with it, and you get home field advantage. Like, that is so much different than playing. I mean, Alabama gets home field advantage pretty much wherever, but adding more rounds is just going to mean that Cincinnati's going to get beat round 1 by whoever the 1 seed is, and then they'll play the 4 seed. Okay, they'll get boat raced. Now 1 and 2 meets in the championship game. Or maybe the 2 and 3, 1 and 3, and then it's the same thing. It's like a consolation game. You get like a scrimmage against number 10.
Maybe. You also get more games that mean stuff. You also get players that aren't opting out. You get every team that has a chance to win it all. Instead of your 5th best team in the country, half their team don't play because it don't matter.
It don't matter. I mean, I've never understood the bowl games anyways.
Exactly.
It's just
none of the bowl games matter.
But then, like,
they don't make sense.
The 8 seed just gets, they get to come and, here's your whooping. Congratulations. Thanks for showing up.
I also think it changes a ton. Like, right now you get, a month before you play the first round? Somewhere around there, like maybe 3 weeks?
Probably 3 weeks.
So you give Nick Saban 3 weeks to beat anybody he's going to. You shorten that down, and now he has to play, the 8 seed, and then the 5 seed, and then the 3 seed, and then the 2 seed, all in a month span. Now this is when parity starts.
They got to do the same thing
because you don't have a month
Nick
to
Saban though. It's like there's 2 sides to it. He's the GOAT for a reason.
Yeah, but And he doesn't lose those games. He doesn't lose in the first round, rarely. He doesn't lose week 1. Like, that's what he does. That's why, like, they won. Who'd they beat when they played Clemson? Clemson beat them by 100.
Yeah, because Clemson played Notre Dame game
playoff.
1, who was garbage, and didn't even practice for him. They practiced for Alabama for 3 months or whatever, because they knew they could just mail it in the regular season. I'm telling you, dude, it's documented. That's what they did. They practiced their whole bowl break for Alabama, game plan for half a week against Notre Dame, just ran them out of the Coliseum or wherever they played, and then they go over to San Francisco like, oh, well, we already know what's going on here. We've been planning for this for a month.
I don't know if that's true or not. Nobody does.
Which, Alabama they weren't ready. They got out coached, they got outplayed by one of the best teams of all time, and it's fine. Like, I'm cool with it. I was there. I heard Clemson do their fight song 1,000,000 times. It was awful. I don't know if y'all have ever heard it, but they spell out Clemson, and it gets old really quick.
I just don't know how. I don't know how college football hasn't figured that out yet.
It makes
a 14
sense.
playoff just isn't it
from a money standpoint, because like all those games are getting viewed. I just see like you'll get more upsets with the 5-4 game or whatever. I mean, so that'll be cool, like seeing those play out. But I don't know. I still think it's going to be what it's going to be. It's going to be 1, 2, or 3 every year. Sometimes 4. Like you'll get an upset if Georgia loses to Auburn and has 2 losses and they lose to Bama or something. They sneak in as the 8 seed. Like, okay, now they're back. They get another chance. Like, that's what it'll be.
There would be more upsets.
I don't see it.
It isn't like upsets don't happen in college football.
Get that. But, like, how would you do it? I mean, are all these teams going to have to go, like, the first round, they get home field advantage? If you're playing at home, or would it be at a bowl
Or you
site?
you just spread all the bowls out. So instead of having meaningless bowls, you take the smaller bowls, and that's your first round, and then the big ones are your last 8 games or whatever you want to do. But, I mean, it has to be like 16 at least.
16 teams?
Yes.
Jeez. I don't know, man. It's just so top heavy.
Because there's only 4 teams that get to play. So that's why it's so top heavy.
No, I just disagree. You think if I don't know, BYU's probably top 15 a lot. You think if they got to play in it more, they would get better?
I mean, they would have a chance. Right now, they have no chance.
Go to a bigger conference. Win your games.
Like, look, the NFL plays the exact same sport. Last year, Tennessee was the 1 seed. They got a bye. So the second round when they play.
Because the regular season,
they had more wins than
the regular
anybody
season
in the
tells
AFC.
you so. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That has nothing to do with the amount of playoff games. Tennessee being overrated because they play an easier schedule.
How are they overrated if they won more games than anybody else?
You can look at.
There was no judgment to that. They won more games.
That's fine. You look at who they played when, and it's going to be different than other teams. Like, they had the favorable matchup more times than they did not have a favorable matchup.
Because they were a better team.
Obviously not. Obviously, they were not a better team. They got beat in the first round.
by the team who nobody expected to be there, and then they ended up playing for the championship after winning 2 games the year before.
Yeah, I wonder.
Like parity can't
Not in
happen
college
in
football, dude. BYU is not going to march down this golden road of upsets to a national championship. That's not how it works in college football. In the NFL, very possible. They're
Because
all great
it isn't
players.
allowed.
They're all NFL players. The players that BYU gets can't even compete with the players that Vanderbilt gets. Like through and through, they're not going to compete like at all. It doesn't even. I mean, you put BYU in the SEC, they get stomped. You disagree?
Disagree.
Should we pull up how many 5 stars is in the SEC? Then what? I don't even think BYU's in a conference.
Who cares what star you are coming out of high school? What was Russell Wilson, like a 2-star?
That's one guy.
And Spencer Rattler's
Those
a 5-star.
are 2 guys.
Look up all the guys in the NFL. See how many of them are 5 stars. I would bet majority of them are less than that.
Yeah, I mean,
Look
that's
at
great.
Tom Brady.
That's great. Should we look up Aaron Donald, see what he did in college? Should we look up
Yeah, where'd he go? Where did Aaron Donald, the best player in football, where did he play college football at?
What kind of argument is that?
So where's Pitt? When has Pitt been in the playoffs? He's the best player, the best football player on the planet right now. And his team will never get a chance at winning the title.
You know why? Because they can't get the players. They got one player that was underrated. If they're so good, they got the best player. Where were they? Why didn't they win? Where were they at? Getting put down by the man.
I'm just saying. You're saying these teams can't compete. They can't compete because they can't get the players. When majority of the NFL is those same players.
So what? Why aren't they winning? There must be some kind of. They must be getting beat by somebody. Oh, I guess all the same teams: Clemson, Alabama, Georgia.
Just saying, it's the one sport. College football has the best regular season in all of sports, and it has the worst playoff out of all sports. And it just refuses to change it because it thinks there won't be parity. When adding more teams creates parity, it's really not that hard to figure out. Like every other sport has figured it out.
I disagree. NFL is more of a level playing field throughout. College is not.
Because there's only – right now, if you're a 5-star recruit, you're the best player in the country, where are you going to go? To compete for a title, you have to go to Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. You can't go to anywhere else. So you expand it, and now these other teams are –
NIL does help with that.
Like you expanded to 16 teams. Now there's 16 teams with a chance to make it. To where if you're, the third best quarterback, you can go somewhere and carry a team to the 16th spot, and you get a chance. Right now, you have to go to like Alabama. I think they signed the 3 best running backs in the same recruiting class this year. Why? Because they want to play for a title, and Alabama's guaranteed to be there in those 4 years. So give another team a chance that's guaranteed to be there. Give Ole Miss, expand it to 16. Ole Miss starts getting some of these guys. Texas, Oklahoma, they're getting these guys. Like when 3 teams are guaranteed to be in it, you go to college for 3 years if you're that good. There's 3 teams, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama. You're going to be in the playoffs twice at least. So why wouldn't you go there?
I mean, now the NIL plays a big role in it. Like you can spread out the talent, but so we think. But now Alabama just keeps getting richer, and so I don't know. Like it's just like when you bring NIL into it, it's almost like a unknown, I guess. But say NIL's not involved, then it's just like you said. Like nobody's going to go anywhere else. But even if there is 16 teams that get in, why would I go to BYU when Alabama's offering me? Why would I go to Utah? Like, if I'm from the Southeast, why would I go? What's my draw to go to Utah? Like, there's more players in the Southeast that are going to stay in the Southeast. They're not going to go to the Northeast. They're not going to go to Washington. Like, oh man, they got a decent squad. I might go up there. Like, no, they're going to stay down here. They're going to go to Florida. They're going to go to Georgia. They're going to go to LSU. They're going to go to Clemson. It's just terrible. I mean, and like, I think Texas does a pretty bad job at this, but like, a lot of players come out of Texas. That's maybe your only chance, like getting good players in California. But I mean, how many people go from the Southeast up there that didn't transfer, like out of high school? So, but
you open it up, and now maybe. I mean, there's other teams in the Southeast. Like, because like Texas and Oklahoma are about to be in the SEC.
They should be dominating anyways.
So when that happens, let's say all of them. Let's say they're great. Let's say Alabama stays where they are. Georgia stays where they are. Texas and Oklahoma have, where they're competing for a title every 5 years. Then you've got Auburn, LSU. How many of those teams are going to make the playoffs?
A lot of them
coming out of the SEC. But there's only 4 spots.
I mean,
so when there's an undefeated Pac-12 team, there's an undefeated ACC team. There's 3 teams in the SEC that have 10 wins or 11 wins. Then there's no room.
I mean,
for all
that's
these
true.
people.
That is where your parity would come in, is when Alabama has to play Florida for the 3rd time. I mean, but who wants that? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see Alabama play Florida for the 4th time of the year, like, or 3rd time. I mean, that's where you would get it, I guess. That's where it would come in. Or, you get, just like this year, like with Baylor and Ole Miss, like that would have been a matchup that I wouldn't have seen coming. I guess that's where your parity is. But like 1-2 ain't falling. It's just, I mean, college basketball is like that. College basketball is a little bit different sport.
I mean, it's like I said, it's proven in the NFL.
NFL is totally different, dude.
The 1 seed didn't.
The NFL is totally different.
How? It's the same game.
The players. It is such a different setup just by the players. They don't have a draft. College football doesn't have a draft where you have to pick and you're punished for winning and things like that. Like, that's not how that works. You can't have 8 Derrick Henrys in your running back locker room or in your running back room when you can in college. Nothing stops you from that.
But that's what I'm saying, is that wouldn't happen as often if more teams had a chance to win it all. If you want to win a title right now in college football, you have to go to Alabama, you have to go to Ohio State, you have to go to Georgia or Clemson. If winning is a priority, that's where you have to go. If you expand it to 16 teams, now there's 12 other teams that have a shot. And you don't have to go to those places. So that, you might get the number 1 running back in the class, but 2 and 3 might go somewhere else because they have a chance to win it still.
I guess, man. I just you can't compare it to the NFL unless you just limit like how many good players you can have, because that's what happens in the NFL. You are limited by a salary cap.
It's backwards to college football.
It's the complete opposite.
College football is the one that's exactly, and it's college football's fault.
I'm with you
because they limited it to 14.
I'm not against expanding the playoff. I just think it's going to be the same. I just think the same teams are going to dominate in the same way.
I don't know how anybody can say that when it doesn't happen that way in any other sport. College football is the only one that's that way.
Look at the players, man. Look at the players. It's not a fair game when the top of a Power 5 conference plays against like a mid-range. Like, you put the top 5 against any 15th team ever at the end of the year. Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be a blowout.
Okay, and you
You
might
get
win
2
that one.
weeks to prepare.
So you blow that one out. So you're telling me there was a team that wanted to play Ole Miss full strength last year in the playoffs. You think one of those 4 teams that were in the playoffs would have volunteered to play Ole Miss as hot as they were at the end of the year where nobody was stopping them at full strength? You don't think that Ole Miss team could have beat one of the top 4?
Maybe Michigan. But I also think Michigan was overrated. But that's where that comes in. So, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe 15th, nobody. Maybe 15th team, Coastal Carolina should deserve a shot against Michigan. You're right. I would love to see that every year. At 11
This
a.m.
This isn't my idea.
That'll be perfect. That'll start the day.
Having more than 4 teams in the playoff isn't my idea. I didn't make that up and think I'm the genius. Everyone else in sports history has ran it this way. College football is the only one that doesn't. College football thinks they're this elite group. It's like a country club. Like, you spend your money, you get the best players, you load up, and you go play each other every year, and it's fun. But every other sport doesn't do it that way.
I don't know what you want me to tell you, man.
Like, parity is limited because college football limits it itself.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. I mean, there's other schools with money out, like SMU. SMU has money. Why can't?
Well, it hasn't been legal until this year. You're going to see more parity starting now.
That's fair.
Like Texas getting Quinn Ewers, Texas A&M having the number 1 class. So things are going to start spreading out a little more. Now, if you would just expand the playoffs, it would expand, like, everything would level out more. Alabama wouldn't win 11 games every single year if there's 20 teams that have a chance at making the playoffs.
I just don't think it's making the playoffs. I agree with you with NIL and stuff. Alabama's not like the days of winning 12 games a year, like you're over under being at 11.5 every year. That's over in the next 3 years. But I don't think it's because of a playoff. I think it's because of NIL. Like, I just don't think if it stayed at 4 teams, you'd still have more diversity getting in there.
Well, we're also fixing to have like probably just 4 major conferences, and that's it. And that's going to change things up too. When you could have the 4 best teams all be in the SEC, and maybe 2 of them make the playoffs.
That's going to be pretty.
Or even more than that, there could be like 6 of the best teams could all be in the SEC. Just they have to figure it out. They have to expand it. It doesn't make sense.
It's got to be changed. I don't know how but it's got to be changed just because you're so right. Like, but you also won't have the record to reflect that. You won't have the record that 6 of the best teams are from the SEC because they'll all beat up on each other.
Yeah, which is why I think that you got to keep the committee, because it'll be like an eye test to where like a 10-win SEC team could be the best team in the country over a 12-win team in the Pac-12. If the Pac-12 even exists at that point.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The Big 12, an undefeated team in the Big 12, and a 10-win Alabama that lost to Auburn and Jordan Hare and lost to Georgia week 1.
All that voodoo y'all got going on. Man, now we're pressed. I wanted to talk about Juan Soto. Unbelievable.
We got plenty of time.
Anyways, let's get into it. Trade deadline ended yesterday at 6 o'clock, or excuse me, Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And boy, was it fun. That was one of the more electrifying trade deadlines that I can remember.
It's the best. Like, nobody does a trade deadline like MLB, because these teams will wait until last minute. It was after 5 o'clock whenever I got the notification about the Yankees trading Jordan Montgomery.
I mean, literally last minute.
Like, it was literally at the buzzer. It was like 4:58.
So the big one, if you haven't heard, you've been under a rock, but Juan Soto, who is one of the best pure hitters in the game right now. He's 23 years old, has been playing for 5 years. him and Josh Bell get traded from the Nationals to the Padres for Luke Voigt, C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassell III, who's the number 1 prospect. James Wood is number 3. Mackenzie Gore, Jarlin Susana. One of the biggest trades probably in the history of sports.
I think statistically it was the biggest trade
Yeah.
in baseball history.
That's incredible. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, Juan Soto's good. Just for the Padres' perspective, Juan Soto's really good, right? Josh Bell is not like no trash player or nothing. Dude is, if you look at the leaderboards, he's at the top of everything. Like, he's top 10 in everything.
He's top 3 first baseman this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
statistically,
he's already at like 115 hits, and he's up there in average. He's up there in OPS, OBP, like everything. So the Padres just got really scary. And that was only one of their trades that they made. Another big one is
which they them trading C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore and I can't remember the other guy's name. All 3 of those guys are going to be all-stars.
Yeah.
In like 2 years.
They're going to be really good.
Like C.J. Abrams, he can start in the MLB right now.
Yep.
You put him on, if you promote him in the MLB right now, he's their best player right now at the Nationals.
I agree, because the Nationals have
so
nobody.
They got a ton back. That's nobody. Now I think they just got 4 top 100 prospects in MLB. I think it was a good trade both sides.
Yeah, people were talking.
I can't believe they didn't make them include Patrick Corbin, because that's what I was hearing was like a thing they wanted to get rid of Corbin's contract. So for the Padres to get Soto and Bell without having to bring Corbin's contract on, is huge
definitely
for them too.
The Padres also got utility player Brandon Drury from the Reds for Victor Acosta. I really don't know much about Victor Acosta, but Brandon Drury rakes. I do know that. He's just a really good player, and you can kind of put him anywhere. I want to say they made one more deal, but I cannot remember for sure.
They got Josh Hader.
Yeah, that's what it was. They got Josh Hader.
Which didn't make sense to me, because they traded their closer, who I'm pretty sure has more saves than Josh Hader.
They traded Matt Bush. No, wrong one. Sorry, there was just so many.
It was Rogers.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember which one it is. Taylor or Trevor.
Taylor Rogers. Sorry. There's just a lot of
I'm pretty sure he led the league in saves majority of the year.
I can't find it.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones. But, I mean, I guess Josh Hader, you can't really just depend it on saves. I think he was my Cy Young winner. When we did the Dundies. He had given up one hit all year or something.
He's been really good of late. I do know that. He's kind of gotten like Chapman, where when he comes in, I feel like there's a historic moment. He gave up the home run to lose the game to Freddie Freeman last year, and he gave up the hit to Juan Soto with bases loaded in 2019 when they it was a bases clearing double to put them ahead in the 9th or the 8th. So it's but that just for Aroldis Chapman, those are 2 games out of the hundreds that he's closed. So you can't just judge him off of that. But I mean, it's not a bad pickup for the Padres. I mean, that Taylor Rogers might be having a better year, but I think overall, it'll be better for the Padres for their bullpen, just because he's kind of been there, done that in the playoffs. Which that's really the only reason you're making all these moves. You can maybe run down the Dodgers, but you're gonna win the wild, or you're not gonna win. You're you're in the race to win the wild card, but you're locked up the number 2 spot for now, and you got to make the most of it.
Yankees got rid of
Yankees
Gallo.
got rid of Gallo. That made me happy.
Sent Gallo
That made
to
me
Dodgers.
really happy.
Got a top 15 pick. I feel bad for Gallo. Like if you watch any of his recent interviews, he's just
he feels
sad.
like a failure.
He didn't like being there. Yeah, I'm happy for him. Maybe he'll be good for the Dodgers because I do think he just needs a change of scenery. Like he's not a bad baseball player, but you can tell when you go to New York and you start struggling, some people just aren't built to handle that. To where those people live, breathe, and die.
You got to be built different. That's for sure. You can't pay attention to the outside. And I think all that doubt kind of crept up in his mind. And yeah, I hate it for him, but he'll go out west and to a pretty good vibes team, and I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine in the long run.
Yeah.
I think the Braves made some pretty good moves, picking up Raisel Iglesias from the Angels. They got Adrianza back. He played with the Braves 2 years ago, or last year, I guess. And then they got Grossman from the Tigers. That one kind of went under the radar. That's a really good pickup. Dude's going to be a really good player, or is a good player. I don't know, man. And they locked up Austin Riley for a while. They got pretty much their infield is locked up for the next. I think Ozzie has the shortest contract right now with 7 years. So I'd watch out for the Braves, man. They kind of have what the Giants had back in 2010. Like they got a lot of dudes locked up for a little bit of money. Kind of setting themselves up pretty nice.
Oh, yeah, it's always good to buy in early on those guys and get them cheap.
Oh, yeah. I want him to lock up Dansby because I think he'll be good for a couple more years, but, I don't know. I don't know if they will or not. I was hoping that the Yankees would get Luis Castillo. They were not able to, but, it is what it is.
See, I wanted Luis Castillo too, but I do think as a scheme fit, I think Montas fits better. He's more of like a hard throwing sinker baller, to where he just throws that. He just won't eat ground balls. I think that works in Yankee Stadium. I think Castillo would have fit too, but those are the two guys that said, okay, you got to get one of them.
Yep.
So maybe you give up less to get Montas than you would have to get Castillo, which is fine. Either way, add another arm.
I did kind of hate giving up Jordan Montgomery, but I get it. It's like one of those things. He's a versatile arm. Like he could start and come out of the pen, which is always nice to have that versatility. But I get it. You know what I mean? Like I hate it, but it is what it is.
See, that to me, them trading Jordan Montgomery tells me Clark Schmidt is finally getting the chance he deserves, because he's been called up the last 2 years, just kind of like filling in places, and he shoves every single time. He's another guy. He throws the hard sinker baller. Early in the year, it was him and Mike King were kind of trading, and then of course Mike King just took off and had a crazy first half. So Schmidt was just kind of the odd man out. So I think they knew, okay, Montgomery's going to be our 4 or 5. If we can trade him and we can bring up a young prospect to take his spot, that's what we'll do. And the trade didn't make sense to me on either side, though, just because, when does Bader going to get to
that's
play?
What I was having a conversation with a guy today. Are you going to put him over? Who are you going to put him over? We make fun of Aaron Hicks, but dude kind of rakes still. Obviously Judge plays, Benintendi plays. So isn't there Stanton, you got Stanton out there from time to time when he's not DHing. So it's What are we doing here?
I just meant from like an injury standpoint.
Is he still hurt?
Like he's in a walking boot right now. I don't know when he'll get to play. I think the Cardinals were kind of pessimistic about it. But, I mean, obviously, I think the Yankees don't make a deal without knowing he'll be good to go
a physical
here fairly soon. But that outfield is nasty.
You like him
now.
out there?
Defensively, dude, he covers so much ground. It's unbelievable.
Offensively, though?
He can hit ninth.
I mean,
I'm fine with your guys up the middle playing great defense and hitting below average. Like IKF, he's hitting like 270. He hasn't hit a ball hard all year, but he plays really good defense, playing shortstop.
I guess having Glaber, having Glaber at second kind of makes it okay, just because he's such an offensive bat. What about the stories of the Yankees wanted to deal him for Lopez in Miami? Did you see those? That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, that did surprise me too. Also, supposedly the Yankees made a really good offer to get Shohei Ohtani.
I did see that as well,
which would have broke the internet, having Ohtani and
having
Judge
two
on the same team.
MVPs.
Yeah,
literally. What I like.
You're 1 and 2.
What I like about Ohtani is he's not the best hitter, he's not the best pitcher, but he's above average in both, and that just frees up a roster spot for another role player, which is great. That's great to have. I mean, I don't know how good of a fit he is with the Yankees, just because I'd rather have Stan DH more times than not, but maybe he plays the field or something. I don't know. I don't really know how all that works since he pitches, but it definitely would have been crazy.
Which the Yankees still have all 4 of their top
they didn't
prospects.
give up anything.
They gave up their 5th best prospect, who was in the top 100, to get Montas, but other than that, they gave up like their 19th, 20th, and 21st prospect with all the moves that they made. And Jordan Montgomery.
Which is fine. But it was great.
Yeah.
I thought the Phillies made some pretty bad moves. I guess they got Brandon Marsh, but they kind of just did some weird stuff. Like they went and got David Robertson. Like, why? You have to get in. You have to make the playoffs. I just don't. I don't see. They don't have a good team, in my opinion. They went and got Noah Syndergaard as well, who's a guy a lot of people in the East have seen. So, kind of a weird pickup again. I don't know. I think the Phillies have a lot of weird stuff going on with their franchise, just because they make a lot of weird moves. But I mean, it's going to be tough beating the Mets either way, even for the Braves. It's going to be really tough. I don't look forward to that at all.
I've kind of changed my mind on the Mets. I don't think they're the favorite right now. I think the Dodgers are still the favorite.
I think I'm with that.
I think it's Dodgers. I'm changing my top 3 because we remember how good Jacob deGrom is, but we forget how bad the Mets are when Jacob deGrom pitches. He is below 500. He's the best pitcher in baseball, and he's below 500 because
they literally just lost to the scum of baseball with the Washington Nationals. They didn't have any of the players they traded for yesterday. They're playing with their bench.
They lost a triple.
They lost to a
Triple A
team. That is a great way to put it.
If you're watching it, it's half the guys that come up. It's showing their stats, and it says, playing for whatever team is their AAA affiliate.
That's terrible. It's just awful. Oh man.
The Cubs not trading Contreras or Happ kind of
Yeah, I
surprised me,
thought both of them would get dealt. Kind of glad it didn't, though.
especially after they hugged and
Yeah, I
cried
know.
in the
That's kind of
dugout.
touching. But,
Well, like the Cubs, they should have traded
yeah, I
him.
mean, Ian Happ is
Like,
Ian
why
Happ's
wouldn't you
good,
have?
but like, how long is he going to be good? You know,
And this is as good as Contreras has ever been.
right? He ain't getting
Like
no
you're
better.
trading him at his high.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they're both free agents here too.
See that's weird to me. Why would you not trade him?
At least I think they are. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure they are.
I don't know, man. I don't know. A lot of weird moves, but I am glad Juan Soto went to the Padres and not the Mets or the Cardinals or the Dodgers. That does make me happy.
I
And
agree.
the Padres are fun. They have a cool stadium to watch on TV. Not for us East Coasters, but they have cool uniforms. They have cool players. Like they're gonna be fun to watch. It's gonna be fun to watch them play.
Especially they've already locked up Tatis and Machado. Can you imagine if they lock up Soto too, and that's just their core for
Yeah,
the next
that'll
couple
be
years?
electric. Because Juan Soto is an electric player.
They just him and Tatis both. Like out of your core, Manny Machado is the least electric player, and he's one of the best baseball talents we've seen in 20 years.
He's like just a little bit worse A-Rod, Like he just does freaky stuff.
Exactly. Perfectly put.
I mean,
He's A-Rod if A-Rod didn't hit 700 home runs
right.
and date J-Lo
That's right.
and Madonna and
That's
anybody that he wanted.
King of New York. But, man, I'm ready for football, man. I think is it less than a month away?
September 3rd. Actually, I think there's a week
Yeah.
0 game before that in like
I think so
London
too.
or
Who
wherever.
knows?
They ship whoever it was, like Nebraska's playing Northwestern in Ireland or
fun.
something in Iraq.
Oh, man.
I think Joe Biden's sending a game to
Send-
who is Russia invading
Ukraine,
right
he
now?
needs to send UMass and UConn over to
Yeah.
Ukraine. Duke it out.
It's part of the $100 billion we just sent them. Well, gas is $11
Have
a
both
gallon.
no
over here.
lines, just hand deliver it. That's good stuff.
He's like, I know what'll work. I know what works over here.
Give them a
Football.
playoff.
Give them one of the bowl games. Ukraine Liberty Bowl.
Oh my gosh. That's great. That is so great.
Oh, one more thing. Whit Merrifield still not 100%
Yeah,
he's
what-
getting vaxxed.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
And have y'all seen? Y'all need. I'm gonna try to repost it like on Twitter or something if I can find it. It's this player. It's like that bit from Moneyball where he's like, this player leads the league in base hits this year. His only flaw, he's not legally allowed in our country. It's so funny. So funny, dude.
Because I feel like you saw with Benintendi wasn't vaxxed. As soon as the Yankees got him, it was like 2 hours later, he said, yeah, like I'm willing to get the vaccine to compete. And Whit Merrifield hasn't said
Right.
that. He basically said, at one point, I remember he said that like the vaccine isn't doing what it's supposed to do, so there's no point in him even getting it. So could you imagine if the Blue Jays traded for him and then he just said, no,
And they
I'm
they
not going
can't
to get
trade
vaxxed.
him. I guess they could release him, but I don't really know how that would work out.
Still, yeah, I think you still have to pay
Yeah,
him.
you still pay him.
So, like, I guess you could keep him. He just wouldn't play half your games.
I don't know, man.
He just only play road games like
You
Kyrie.
just pick him up. You just pick him up at the border. I'd
Just get him a hotel room right
You know,
outside in like
from Toronto.
Minnesota.
From Toronto's point of view, I mean, you got to make him ride the bus like everywhere, like no planes. Make him ride the bus everywhere. I mean, I would be if I'm the owner of Toronto. One, the GM is getting locked out of the building. Two, Like, he's riding the bus. I don't care. Gas it 7-Eleven and ride the bus. That's it.
Yeah, if he doesn't get vaxxed, I'm firing everyone.
Everyone.
Like, this is something that was you just played him like a month ago. You knew the guy didn't come because he wasn't vaccinated.
They're like, oh, I just thought he didn't show up. Was he not on vacation?
I'm rooting for him to not get vaccinated.
I think it'll be hilarious.
Because that will be
what a power move.
Hilarious.
Speaking of power moves, Eric Hosmer said, nah, man, I'm not going to the Capitol. Send me to Boston. Send me to the racist city. I won't go to the Capitol.
Scott Boras, though, is a straight gangster just saying, you know what? Eric Hosmer don't want to go to the Nationals. How about you pay him $10 million and he'll go? And the Padres are like, all right, we'll give him $10 million. And Hosmer still said,
nah, man.
Nah.
No
Still
thanks.
ain't worth it.
Thank you, but no thank you. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, you got anything else?
Probably the most important trade, the United States is trading for Brittany Griner back.
That's important.
We're trading on a mass murderer and arms dealer, but we're getting the only girl that they can dunk in the WNBA back. So maybe that'll get some ratings up.
I hope so. They need it.
I'm pretty sure the WNBA plays.
Yeah, they're still playing. They're playing right now. I don't know why.
I could have sworn the championship just happened.
I thought so too. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with. It's really hard. ESPN doesn't do a good job, which I couldn't say the last time I watched ESPN, to be honest.
It's been a long time.
Stevie, the CNB Sports Show is going to take over anyways. It doesn't matter. Going to the moon.
I've already turned down ESPN's
to
offer.
The moon. Yeah. I'd go hang out with Colin Cowherd before I went and hung out with whoever ESPN's running out there.
We'll go hang out with Stephen A.
Oh, man. I guess.
MFK. Skip Bayless. Stephen A. Smith. Colin Cowherd.
I think Colin Cowherd's a pretty good looking guy, so probably him. Skip Bayless got to go. And then, Stephen A is the last one.
Kissing Stephen A. I think I'd marry Stephen A just because I think he'd make me laugh the most out of everyone. Just hearing him say blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Over and over. I'm definitely killing Skip, and I will kiss Colin.
I feel like Colin Cowherd's a cool guy, though. I feel like he does cool stuff. He's a Cali guy. Pretty suave. You get to hang out.
Does Joy Taylor
get to hang? I mean, that's a work.
Does Joy Taylor
that's a work colleague. You know what I mean? Get to hang out with her.
Okay, I might be in. If Colin calls and he offers us a spot, I'll make sure we're not taking Joy Taylor's spot. If she's there, we're in. Yep.
Like, you know how he'll bring his guest out. I just one segment a week. That's all I want, Colin. One segment. I don't care what we can talk about anything. I could tell you TikTok dances. I don't care. You can liven your show up anyways.
We'll bring the MF. We'll give him a weekly MFK.
All right, man. That was a pretty good show. Let's have a good weekend. Let's run it up this weekend. And let's get after it.